What's up, everybody? Welcome back to episode 2 of the Let's Go Devils podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be highlighting all your guys' concerns about injuries that they may have. Dawson Mercer, he signed that contract. And the highlight of this episode, the most important piece, and what is going to be the most important piece to this Devils team in the long run, their bottom six. And those players that play in the bottom six. Hope you guys enjoy. To start today's episode, we're going to deep dive into the concerns that fans may have currently about the injuries of this team. Already people saying, injuries already? Training camp has barely even started. Let's put the brakes on for a sec. 2 major injuries right now. One of them is not major at all, but fans are saying it's major with Brett Pesce. Brett Pesce was just listed week to week. We knew this in June. He had surgery on a broken fibula or tibula in the offseason after the playoff run with the Carolina Hurricanes. Maybe fans weren't aware of this, and they saw that he was listed week to week yesterday on the second day of training camp. Obviously wasn't at practice, and they got concerned. Brett Pesce is most likely going to play opening night in Newark, New Jersey. He's a maybe to play against the Sabres over in Europe. I think he will, but it's a maybe. But he's going to play on opening night in Newark, New Jersey. Luke Hughes, when's he going to be ready? We're hoping end of October. Obviously a very important piece, but I didn't mention this last episode, who could fill in for Luke Hughes when I didn't really mention that. My guess it's going to be Santeri Hakanpää, who looked really, really good in his short playing time with the New Jersey Devils last year. Obviously, Ruff didn't give him the benefit of the doubt, didn't really play him much, but he was actually a plus 7, which was third on the team, and the leader of the plus minus. We'll get into that. But he was just such a great underlying piece of that team that didn't get played much. And he didn't get played enough. Okay, we'll leave it there. But I think with Keefe at the moment, with Luke Hughes out, he's gonna get played. Also, breaking news in Devils world today, Dawson Mercer, he signed that contract. We were all hoping he would. My prediction was a little bit off from last episode, and when I said he was going to get a 1-2 bridge deal, about $2.53 million, 3 years, 4 AAV. Do I think that's fair? Yes. He can live up to that, and I hope he will. I really, really hope he does, because he can. We saw it in 2022-2023 when he scored 27 goals. 27. Last year, which he only had 20 goals and 33 points. It's not worth $4 million. That's a fourth line grinder numbers. He's not that guy though. He is not gonna put up 20 goals, 33 points again. He's not gonna do it. Obviously, started the season really bad. He did up a little bit, like I said, and then got super cold. But we all remember, the guy scored in 8 games in a row, tied the franchise record, 10 goals in those 8 games. He was so vital to our success in that playoff year. And if we want to be good again this year, we're going to need him to step up and live up to that good contract that Tommy F gave him. Okay, so before we go in and deep dive into the bottom 6, where we're really going to dig in and go under all the players in that bottom 6 and how important they're going to be to the success of this team, we're going to go over my favorite quotes from the last 2 days. Okay? So the first one was from Tom Fitzgerald. A journalist, media expert, asked him this question. Who did you sign in this offseason? Can you tell us about who you signed in this offseason? And he simply said, no heads. No heads. I don't know if I could say it on here, but I'm sure you Devils fans and people around the world and around the hockey world can fill this in. No heads. That was I thought that was pretty funny. Another one from a certain player on the Devils bottom 6 that's going to be super important that we got in trade from Las Vegas, Paul Cotier. He said, it's not hard to finish your check. We're going to have to be a physical team this year. And I think that's super important, right? The Devils were not a very physical team last year. The bottom half of the league in hits, bottom of the half in all physical categories. They got bullied by some of those Metro teams, the Hurricanes, even the Islanders at time, the Rangers, the Capitals. The Capitals were a great great showing of that. They were physical. They just wanted to win. The Devils didn't seem like they wanted to win last year. This year, I think they have that with that bottom six. They're just going to drive this team. When the bottom six is going, it kind of relieves pressure off the top guys in Hughes, Meyer, Hischier, Bratt. It kind of takes pressure off them and allows them to perform at their best ability. Allows Timo Meyer to go out there and score 45 goals. Jack Hughes to crack 100 points. Just for Bratt to just dangle around and use his speed. The bottom six playing like that and playing physical and taking the pressure off, because then when they're playing physical, the other team is going to focus more on them and try and beat them, but they're not going to be able to. They're going to be little pesks, and then our top six is going to come in and score goals. And that's how the Devils are going to win games this season. I can almost guarantee it. So let's go over some of the important players on this bottom six. The first one I want to go over is their new addition, as well as some of them are. Not new in a sense that he's never played for this team, but a sense that he's new back on this team. You guessed it, it's Stefan Noesen. Stefan Noesen, however you want to say it. Stefan Noesen was overlooked as a New Jersey Devil in the beginning of his tenure. I think he was vital to the team's success. He may have been overlooked at times. He may have struggled at times. But I think in the 2017-18 season, when we made the playoffs in the back of Taylor Hall, he was actually pretty important. And we all remember that big playoff goal he scored. But I think he was more important than people remember in that season. And I think this season, he's going to be important again. Last season, he was on a Hurricanes power play that was second in the league at 26.9% behind Tampa. And he was on a top kill, the number one kill in the league. Bringing a guy in that's coming from an experienced being on the second power play and being on the best kill is super, super important to this Devils team. The Devils power play was mediocre last year when it should have been better. Their kill was a little bit above average. But I think having this guy is going to elevate both those categories. And he's a super important player. He's a pesk. He gets in front of the net. He does the dirty work that no one did last year. No one except maybe Curtis Lazar, Nate Bastian, who we'll get into. The next player I want to get into actually is Curtis Lazar. Curtis Lazar had the best plus-minus on the Devils team last year at plus 10. Yes, plus 10. We all remember 2 years ago in our very good season when Tomas Tatar led the team in plus-minus at plus, I think it was like 27, something pretty good. Or maybe 37. I think it was 27. Not sure on that one. But Curtis Lazar is such a great, great player. And I think he is the current Stefan Noesen that gets overlooked and overshadowed by the top six. He is a player that is just going to drive. He's going to try his hardest every night. He's going to have fun out there, right? You always see him smiling. He's always having a great time. And he's scoring some big goals. I look back to a goal against the New York Islanders early in the season. That was actually the night that Dougie Hamilton was put down. Well, not put down. Sent out for the rest of the season. And the Devils were down in that game. And I feel like Curtis Lazar just drove that team. He wasn't the one that tied it. He wasn't the one that got him with the one. That was Hughes and Hischier. But he gave him the lead. It was about under a minute to go. It was a tie game. We're putting the pressure on New York. We're in their zone. And Curtis Lazar just taps one in. Gives the Devils the late lead. And I think that just sent good vibes around the team. But that team last year, bad mojo, bad vibes. Curtis Lazar, a good vibe. He's going to be an even better vibe this year. He's going to drive that Devils bottom six. Most likely playing on the fourth line with Nate Bastian. And the next guy I want to talk about, Paul Couturier. Paul Couturier is a Stanley Cup champion. We got him in a trade with Vegas where we sent Holtz and Schmid. And I also want to talk about them too. Now, in 2 or 3 years, you may look at this trade and say, wow, Holtz had a 30-goal season with Vegas. Like, what are we doing? Why do we trade this guy? Oh, Schmid was a great backup goalie. First of all, Holtz was never going to do good on this team. He was never going to get playing time. Maybe with Keith. We don't know that. But we know with Ruff, he didn't like him. He didn't play great defense. He wasn't scoring the goals like he was supposed to as a 7th overall draft pick in 2020. We got our guy in 2020, and that was Dawson Mercer. Holtz was just not going to succeed on this team. He wasn't going to get playing time. He wasn't going to get the recognition he deserved. And we had to trade him, and we knew it was coming. And I think Vegas is a great place for that right now. Obviously, they got their star players, but their bottom six lacks. And I think Holtz will slide right in there and possibly be a goal scorer in the bottom six. And Akira Schmid, I mean, we got our goalies. You know, we have Nico Dawes as a young guy. Jacob Markstrom obviously being our starter this year. And Jake Allen as our backup. Schmid, again, just didn't really fit on this team. You know who does, though? Paul Cotier. We looked at him probably for a while now, and he's a guy that just drives for us in the bottom six. He's a physical guy. He was top 10 in the league in hits last year. He could put a couple on the back of the net, but that's not his job. His job is to be a pest, like every single one of these guys in the bottom six. We want them to drive and take the pressure off the top six that allows the top six to go out and do their thing. When the bottom six is rolling, it takes pressure off the top six, and they're able to drive the fours, score the goals, make the plays, do what coach wants. But coach's favorite players are bottom six players. They're guys that are going out there, they're doing the dirty work. They're getting in corners, they're shoving them, shoving the other team's star players. They're getting in front of the net, they're clogging lanes. They're doing everything that you want out of a bottom six player. And Paul Cotier, an excellent example of that. He was great on that the Stanley Cup winning Vegas team. And here's another guy, a Stanley Cup champion, bringing on to this team. Next guy I want to talk about, Tomas Tatar. He was a great player for the Devils in their winning season in 2023. Last season struggled a little bit, bounced between Seattle and Colorado. Kind of found his home in Seattle there at the end. But he's a guy that's going to be able to put the puck in the back of the net while also kind of being a little bit of a pest. He's kind of a mix. And I think that's great. That's what we need. A guy that can kind of do both, right? He can maybe play on that second wave of the power play with Erik Haula, who obviously in this bottom six is going to be as important as Tatar. More important, some will say. But he's a guy that can go and do some dirty work. He can put a couple on the back of that. He's just going to be an all-around reliable player. Same with Erik Haula. I think he's super reliable. I think that he could drive the force on this team. We know he's a leader. He's a leader of this team, and he's just going to be able to drive force in that bottom six, and he's going to be the captain of that bottom six. Obviously, Nico Hischier is our captain of the team. But of that bottom six, I think that Erik Haula is going to be the captain of those six guys. Well, that just about does it for the second episode of Let's Go Devils podcast. It was a short one today. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you back for episode 3. See ya.